True Hoop TV, we're talking about miserable basketball franchises in the Big Apple. How are you doing, Amin Elhassan?
How's it going, Henry? Sadly, this man won't be walking through that door, at least not to play the game.
I think that's Walt Clyde Frazier, but it's hard to tell because we're only looking at like his midriff.
Hey, suede Pumas. What more do you need?
How am I supposed to tell they're suede? All right, so the Knicks, not a good year. The Nets, worse?
Well, they both have 13 losses. Nets have a couple more wins, but that'll even out at some point. But either way, both of these teams kind of represent to me how not to run a franchise, right? Particularly in the new NBA. So where well-run franchises value careful decision-making and kind of more analytical approach, not necessarily using stats or whatever, but just kind of let's think this through before we make this decision. And the Knicks and the Nets both kind of have that gut instinct. Oh, my gut tells me this is a good move. In the way they were built, in some of the hirings that they've made. And I think it's bearing out. You know, you can't make gut moves. At least you can't base your entire philosophy on gut moves anymore.
The Nets have already had a shakeup with their coaching staff and we're, whatever, less than 20 games into the year. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, I know, exactly. So, look, at this point, I don't know whether it was Lawrence Frank was insubordinate or whether Jason Kidd is this tyrant who won't have another voice in his staff. But regardless of what it is, these are the type of things that don't happen on good teams, right? Good teams, even if there's a conflict on the staff, they work through it, they figure a way around it, they keep it quiet. Meanwhile, like you said, a month into the season, this guy who's a rookie head coach finds it necessary to jettison not only his associate head coach, but the main guy he sold in his pitch as a head coach. Like, oh, I'm going to bring Lawrence Frank with me, and he will show me the ropes as a former head coach in this league. Again, I'm not blaming Jason Kidd. I'm not blaming Lawrence Frank. I don't know who's at fault. But either way, the fact that this happened, that is a sign of dysfunction. This is something that good teams, championship-winning teams, they don't go through that.
When Mikhail Prokhorov was new to the NBA and lots of profiles of him and stuff, the thing I really liked about him was, look, here's an owner who's outspoken about the fact that his management style is to hire great people and delegate entirely to them, let them do their thing. That can work, I believe, in the NBA, but I'm just not sure he delegated to the right people, right? Like Jason Kidd and Billy King are running the show now, and I'm not sure either one has proven that they're worthy of that kind of trust and expenditure, right? They're spending tons of money.
Right. Billy King, again, you know, his track record is not that. I mean, he's not coming in with a sterling track record and say, hey, Billy, here's the keys. You know what you're doing. We're not talking about Jerry West or Mitch Kupchak here. Billy King, at best, has been a middling GM in this league. At worst, you know, he presided over some of the worst years in Philadelphia, making deals like trading for Chris Webber's carcass and, that sort of bad decision making, right? So I'm with you. You know, that philosophy works if you're hiring the right people. If not, you know, not so much.
And then the Knicks had a big Steve Mills in like 50 minutes before the first game of the year.
Right. So, across the Brooklyn Bridge over in Manhattan, we got the Knicks hiring Steve Mills the eve of the season. And again, this isn't a knock on Steve Mills. When I was an intern with the Knicks, Steve Mills was president of the Garden, and it was a guy I got to sit down with and talk to a lot about basketball and general philosophy, and he's a bright guy. But just the timing of the move and the decision, that's the kind of thing that, again, this is what happens in dysfunctional cities and dysfunctional NBA franchises. They make these haphazard moves rather than, carefully planned or carefully thought out. It screams gut instinct and not we thought about what we were doing.
They're also, not coincidentally, I would argue, two teams that think their competitive advantage is their ability to spend, which gets you into, it's a dangerous way to think in a cap environment, right? They both they have players that you can't trade, which makes it hard to get good.
Absolutely. So I get into this on Twitter a lot with proponents for both of those teams where, well, the new collective bargaining agreement, yeah, that's for people who can't spend. But when you have a billionaire, super billionaire as an owner, it doesn't matter because we'll find a way. That couldn't be farther from the truth.
Doesn't work.
the name of the game now is payroll efficiency. I mean, I don't know if that term has been used before, but it should be payroll efficiency. I have a limited amount of dollars, not what's in your pocket, but what the league tells me I can spend. And I need to figure out to divert those dollars to the most efficient ways. How can I stretch my dollar and make sure the people I surround my stars with are productive and not overpaid? And what both of these teams have kind of thrown out that payroll efficiency from the window and just kind of spend, and try to throw money at the problem rather than, take the long view in terms of building a team.
Like the Isaiah Thomas with the Knicks, the Paul Allen Blazers, like they've proven that this is it just gets you in big trouble. All right, so long term, which team is going to be good first?
That's tough. That's a tough question to say who's going to be, because these are teams that I think are staring at maybe long playoff droughts for quite a while, after this season, whatever happens this year. But if I had to pick one, let's say playoffs, who's going to be a playoff team again? I'd go with the Knicks, simply because they have an event horizon 2015. They have a bunch of cap space. They have the opportunity, at least today. I don't know what they're going to do between now and July 1st, but at least today they have the opportunity to remake their team through free agency, through trades. The Nets are looking at, they've got a couple more years at this awful, awful payroll level, filled with players that, like you said, no one will trade for other than maybe your best player, Brook Lopez. And if you do that, you're definitely starting over. The Nets don't own their pick free and clear for the next, if I'm not mistaken, 8 drafts or so. I mean, so it's going to be a while before Brooklyn has the wherewithal to rebuild their team in a competitive fashion.
That's Amin Elhassan. He uses terms like event horizon. Thank you, Amin.
And payroll efficiency. Come on, I'm trying to start new words here. Come on.